Cafecito Nation, welcome back to the show. We got some great news out of the portal today. Well, some great news and a little bit of bad news, but we'll start with the positive news first. Here on this channel, we're all about the positivity. So let's start with the two players that Miami just acquired out of the portal as of last night. Jadais Richard, very talented cornerback out of the University of Vanderbilt. He has 3 years of eligibility left, 6'2", close to 200 pounds, brings great size, athleticism, length, versatility. And then you got running back Ajay Allen out of the University of Nebraska, has 4 years of eligibility left because this past season he was a freshman, but he had to use his red shirt because he broke his collarbone. Thankfully, I'm sure very painful, but thankfully it's not, it wasn't like an ACL tear, Achilles tear type of injury that takes a long time to recover and a long time to get that strength back. Hopefully he'll be ready to step in and contribute right away. But let's talk about Jadais Richard first, because this is an interesting one. A lot of people with the acquisition of Jaden Davis might think, okay, maybe at cornerback we're good. Now we can start focusing on other positions. Mario Cristobal, it seems like he really believes at throwing numbers at certain positions that he wants to upgrade. It seems like he focuses on kind of one position group at a time. A few months ago, it was the offensive line. Still wants to throw more numbers at that, but it looks like at least with your top 7 or so, you're pretty set with what you got. And now in the cornerback room, you got numbers. You got now with the incoming Jadais Richard, you got him, you got Devontae Brown, who's very likely going to start. Richard could possibly compete with either Brown or Daryl Porter for one of those two starting spots. You got Takori Couch, you got Terry Roberts, you got Jaden Harris, don't sleep on him. You got Chris Graves, you got the incoming freshman for this year, Robert Stafford and Damari Brown, both very talented. And another thing, Damari Brown, size, 6'2". This young man, Jadais Richard, 6'2". I'm just thinking ahead. I'm getting excited already. I'm thinking ahead to 2024 next year. You would think a guy as talented as Damari Brown, a guy who had all his accolades, you would think, okay, by the time he's a sophomore, he should be ready to start, right? So let's say Damari Brown, pencil him in, future starter 2024, right? Jadais Richard, maybe he competes. In his third year, he earns the other starting job. Can you imagine having 2 6'2" corners at 200 pounds? That's like SEC kind of stuff. You don't see a lot of programs out there that have 2 6'2" athletic, fast starting cornerbacks. So I'm already getting excited about that. But you look at that, you look at the room now, and of course you had to, I understand why Mario had to go out and bring in this dude out of the portal, because although you did bring in Damari Brown, Robert Stafford, I like them both a lot. You did lose Cormani McClain at the very end. So you kind of have to replace that guy with somebody else who would seem like, with his amount of eligibility left, it's almost like getting a new recruit. You're not getting a guy that's one and done. You're not getting a 1-year rental or a 2-year rental. This dude's going to be here at least a solid 3 years in all likelihood, unless he's a superstar and then he's off in 2 years, which, hey, I wouldn't shy away from that either. If he does that, he just balls out to that extent, that's fine too. But you look at the numbers, you got like 6, 7 guys there I just mentioned, some experienced guys, some young guys with a lot of talent. Now that room is looking like how it should look. Those are the layers of depth that you want to see and that the best teams in the nation have. So, and in addition to that, these last 2 guys we brought in, Jaden Davis, Jadais Richard, both of them have versatility. Jadais Richard, while he's listed as a corner, ended up playing boundary corner towards the end of the season with Vanderbilt as a freshman, which was very impressive to do that in the SEC. He had a lot of highlights on his huddle tape as a safety, so he can be moved around a little bit. He has that ability to, he's kind of a Swiss Army knife in that way, where he can be moved to that safety spot if need be, if we need somebody there. Jaden Davis, same thing. He can be moved there if we need a backup, if somebody gets hurt. But I think Jadais, more than Jaden, I think, will primarily be a boundary corner. So I'm very excited about that. I think he's going to come in and compete for starting snaps right away. Now, onto the other player, Ajay Allen, running back out of the University of Nebraska. Very excited about him. Just like Jadais, he is from the Louisiana area. Again, you see the you see the connections there with the new coordinators, Shannon Dawson from Louisiana, Coach Guidry from Louisiana. You know, using those connections to bring in more talent from the state of Louisiana, which I'm all for. Lots of talent out of that state, and this kid is no different. Ajay Allen, very quick, very shifty. Great vision. Love the way he bounces it outside and turns the corner. Does it very fast with no wasted motion. He not the biggest guy in the world at 5'11", $185, but if you can make up for it with speed and explosiveness, that's fine. I like having a mix of different kinds of running backs in that running back room. You got the bigger, more powerful guys that will just run you over like a truck, like Mark Fletcher. And then you got the smaller scat back guys like Henry Parrish, like Ajay Allen. So bringing him in not only adds depth, but adds variety to that room. He could even be a guy that's used in the passing game, which Shannon Dawson likes to use his running backs in the passing game. So that could create some fun mismatches. And then with him, plus, you know, Don Chaney getting healthy again, Citizen, Chris Johnson, elite speed. You're bringing in Chris Wheatley Humphrey, next year. He's bringing in some elite top end speed. Now that room is kind of starting to look how it should look with all that top end speed and all that top notch size and all of that. So that was a big acquisition because aside from that, you got to be prepared in case certain guys get nicked up, because that is a position where I think it's one of the positions where guys get nicked up the most. You saw it last year. I think we were down to 2 scholarship running backs at one point, maybe even 1. So you don't want to put yourself in that position again. I know Mario doesn't. So he went out and got this kid. And again, I like the acquisition. I think it fits this kind of offense well. So now you got Henry Parrish and Ajay Allen, 2, you know, kind of more veteran guys that can come in, compete right away. You're not so worried about the inexperience and the injury history of the other guys because now you got that extra guy. You have 6. I think with that, you're pretty solid because even in an emergency situation, I've said it before, I think Terrell Walden did a great job as a walk-on in the spring. I think he ran very hard. In an emergency situation, you got that as well. So now that we got these numbers in, I can't wait to see Chris Johnson and Mark Fletcher get here. They can't get on campus sooner. Then we could see that full room and see how it will play out. So these 2 gets from the portal, I think, were big. They were very important, although it's not the 2 positions that Miami needs most, D tackle and wide receiver, but these were positions of need as far as addressing the depth, in my opinion. So now that you've addressed it, I think Miami can now focus on the 2 bigger positions of need. That being said, wide receiver, Shamar Kirk is set to announce on Saturday. I think I heard from his graduation ceremony, so that's pretty cool. Or at least right after that. But I'm feeling pretty good about him. He is he's coming from junior college, so that doesn't blow you away. That doesn't get people too excited. But watch his tape. I think you'll get more excited. Love the way he plays. And he's definitely dangerous, and he's a threat in the open field. If you can get him the ball in his hands, he can get some yak. He averaged like 19 yards per catch in his junior college career. I know he's doing it against lower competition, but in my opinion, speed is speed. Okay, whether that all translates, you know, his whole game. I mean, whether that all translates to the next level at the Power 5, Shamar Kirk has top end speed. Speed always translates. So worst case, he could take the top off the defense, but you know, if you read a little more into him, you'll see why he ended up having to settle for junior college, because he was very talented coming out of high school. It wasn't a lack of talent thing. It was he didn't take high school football very serious thing. But he kind of was a late bloomer. He matured late. He went out into the workforce, you know, kind of lived his life, went to junior college and realized, you know what, my window of football is shrinking. Let me do this now. And that's what he's doing. I think it's a pretty cool story. And he kind of fits the mold of that high character guy that Coach Cristobal is trying to bring in. So it fits in that regard, but bringing him in, you know, he might be a little bit more of a project in that regard. I would like to bring in one more guy that's a little bit more established, maybe, Power 5 guy. Like, I don't think he's coming here. A Henderson or a really high end group of 5 guy. Like, I'm forgetting the guy's name from UTSA, Zachary Franklin. Maybe somebody like him. But I hope we bring in 2. I'm feeling pretty good about Shamar Kirk maybe being that one. So we'll see what happens there at the wide receiver spot. Defensive tackle. Let's address some of the more negative news. So Tywone Malone, as of this morning, we found out that he was trending towards Ohio State. I'm not sure what happened there. I'm not sure if this was a NIL situation or a playing time situation or of just a Ohio State being a better program situation, which, hey, I mean, look, sometimes you just don't get the recruit. And coming off a 5-7 season, Ohio State, on a bad year, wins 11 games every year. Look, they are the flat out better program right now. You got to admit it. So, we found out earlier they were trending, and sure enough, about an hour or 2 ago, news broke that Tywone Malone will be or is committing to Ohio State and will be joining the Buckeyes in the fall. So, sucks. We missed out on him. I really felt good about getting both him and Keavy Rose. I compared it before to us acquiring Cohen and Matt Lee earlier this year, like 2 guys that can either are day one starters or compete for starting jobs right away. This would have been almost on that level. Keavy Rose, I think, could start. Tywone Malone can come in and compete for starting snaps. Maybe they can compete with each other to start next to LT. I think it would have been that level of quality if we got both of them, but unfortunately it won't be both of them. I did want to at least get one of them. I made it known that of these guys visiting, my number one guy that you got to get out of, I think it was 7 guys that visited over the weekend. The number one guy you got to get to me is Keavy Rose. He puts up the stats. He is an extremely hard worker. He is a first-team All-American or first-team All-Conference performer. Yes, at the group of 5 level, but he's one of those top-end group of 5 guys that, again, guys enter the portal for different reasons, right? Could be they might just be running from competition at their current spot, or they want to just play with their little brother, like Francisco Valigoa, like Devontae Brown, or, they just want to play on a bigger stage or whatever. Some might be positive, some might be negative reasons. In his case, he's my favorite reason to enter the portal because he is killing it in the group of 5 level. And he's like, you know what? I want to test my abilities at the Power 5 level. I want to play in a bigger stage. I want to compete for my spot. And I want to show NFL scouts what I can do on nationally televised games. I love that. I admire that kind of willingness to bet on yourself. And again, he's got the accolades to back it up. Solid size, 6'3", 300 plus pounds, grown man, mature. I think, he's like 22 years old around there. So, or 21, 22 years old, I'm not sure. But he's now a huge, massive priority now that Tywone Malone has committed to Ohio State. So got to land him. It's a big drop-off really after him for who's available in the portal at the D tackle spot. So this one's important. I really hope Miami can land him because there's going to be a lot of question marks on the defensive line going into the season if we're not able to land him. You got some guys at D tackle. Yeah, Lichtenstein could get healthy. You got Dean from Purdue. Sure, those are guys they can fill in and maybe do something. Ahmad Moten, he's the guy I look to as, like, aside from LT, maybe the most talented of all the D tackles that can maybe make the biggest impact. He's still a little green, though, in my opinion. But we'll see what happens there. We're good at defensive end. It's just my concern is D tackle. You got to be able to collapse the pocket up the middle, and you need to be able to stop the run. I don't have a lot of faith that they can do that. Now, without Keavy Rose, I mean. Now, that being said, the linebacker position seems to be getting addressed. And, that could, if for whatever reason we don't land Keavy Rose, God forbid, we do have this possibility. Larry Nixon III, the linebacker from North Texas, Very talented, very nice tape, racked up over 100 tackles last year. Listen, I don't care where you play, 100 tackles don't happen by accident. I think our leading tackler last year was James Williams with like 60 something. This dude had over 100. Okay. I can't remember the last time we had a 100 tackle linebacker. I would have to go back and look it up. But as of right now, as of May 8th, as a matter of fact, when, coming out of the visit weekend, we're number one on Larry Nixon's list. If you look at the linebacker depth chart, again, that's another position you're probably thinking, we got guys, we got Chase, we got, Malik Bryan and Popo coming in. You got Francisco. He's locked in as the Mike right now. Wes is a beast. And then you got Keontre and you got Flag. We're good on numbers. Maybe we are. But let's look at it for a second. You got your two starters, right? For sure. Let's, besides the star position, I think that's going to be Takori right now. You got Francisco at the mic. You got Wes on the weak side. I'm good with those starters. After that, Bobby Washington, excited about him. But here's the thing. He's a true freshman. He is going to make those freshman mistakes. And then you got Chase, very excited about it. I think he's going to be a star as soon as he can get on the field and stay on the field. But we'll see what happens with his injury because he is still recovering. He is on track to get back in time for the season, but we'll see. Still a question mark. Aside from that, who do you have as far as experience and guys that you can rely on that aren't hurt? It's Corey Flagg and Keontre Smith. I can see why Mario would want to inject one more guy in there, one more playmaker, one more quality, experienced guy like another Francisco Mauigoa, and that's why we're going after Larry Nixon. That could really beef up that room in a nice way. And again, you get him, now that linebacker room, numbers-wise, looks like how it should look. And again, numbers are important for a lot of reasons, but a big one that people forget about is competition. Competition breeds improvement, right? And competition is a big key to developing talent. Yes, it's all driven by the coaches and the coaching staff and their quality of coaching. But if you're, let's say, wide receiver one and there's really nobody nipping at your heels, you're just not going to work as hard. It's human nature. So I like that we're going after him, even though it might not be a huge position of need. I think adding quality depth there, adding one more quality guy would be big. So anyways, that's it for me right now, guys, for the portal recruiting updates. Hopefully we'll have some good news for you on Kiwi Rose soon. I think now we really need him. But while we got that going on, I think these two players that just joined Miami, their quality, and they certainly raised the floor. Actually, I don't think they just raised the floor. I think Jadais Richard at least him, I think he raises the ceiling in that DB room. But it's good news all around. We will be back soon later this week, hopefully, again, with more good news of more acquisitions. I don't think we're done yet. But before you go, please, I started dropping my content on Spotify as well. So if you have a minute, go over there, find Cafecito and Canes on Spotify, go click that follow button, give it a listen there. It's great if you want to just listen to me while you're doing something, while you're at work, while you're in the car. I don't suggest you watch YouTube when you're in the car. Better to listen to me on Spotify. And yeah, go find me on there. And that's it for now. As always, go Canes.